What's up, everybody? Rob Vico here, coming to you with episode 58. Is it 58? Episode 58 of Rob Help My Marketing Sucks. Coming to you live today's episode, we're going to talk about something that probably 99% of entrepreneurs deal with. You're probably not aware that 99% of all entrepreneurs are dealing with it. You probably think this is only happening to you. You probably don't even understand that there's a term for it. I didn't until I found this out a couple of weeks ago, and it really made a lot of sense for what I've experienced in my own journey as an entrepreneur, or I should say in my own journey of becoming an entrepreneur and changing my life around, because that was really the journey. It wasn't becoming an entrepreneur, it was turning my entire life around, everything about my life, turning that around and to the entrepreneurial journey. And so a couple of things have led into this discussion, and today I was preparing for this episode. I was going to talk about lead generation, and this little thought just kept nagging at me that this is what I really want to talk about. It's not about marketing, but it's something that you might be experiencing it as an entrepreneur. You'll be experiencing it as an entrepreneur the more you market yourself. Not market your company, the more you market yourself as the face and the personality behind your business. As you start to market yourself, creating an authority brand to increase your A status, you're going to experience this. I've been experiencing this probably for the whole 19 fucking years that I've been an entrepreneur, and I never knew that this is what I was experiencing. So today I don't have slides. Today is just going to be an open kind of discussion. I would love for you all to kind of chime in the comments and tell me, hey John, thanks for tuning in, and let me know if you've experienced this. I know Kevin is watching also, and Liza. The reason I can't do slides today is because I just cannot talk, monitor and respond to comments, and pay attention to the slides. So we're cutting out the slides today just because I don't have enough brain power for all that. So before I tell you what it is exactly we're talking about, we're going to start off this episode like we do every single week with the big ass thank you of the week, which is my favorite part of the show already. I mean, I love coming up here and showing you all about marketing, teaching you the things that I've discovered in the last 19 years as a marketer, but I really love having that moment to show appreciation, to show some gratitude. So today's appreciation and gratitude goes out to Ross Williams. Now, Ross is a Facebook friend. We're in a Facebook group together. And a while back, I was having my logo created for my Facebook group, Kick-Ass Marketing for Brick and Mortar Business Owners. Ross volunteered to do this logo for me absolutely free of charge. And I gave him a big thank you then. And recently, Facebook changed the dimensions of a Facebook group cover photo. And I thought, oh God, I got to get around to getting that resized. And then one day, a couple of days ago, out of the blue, I got an email from Ross saying, hey, they changed the sizes. I figured you might need it. And he just went ahead and did it for me. So thank you, Ross. Big ass thank you to Ross. That's how you network. That's how you add value. That's how you build relationships with people. So thank you for that, Ross. Oh, I guess if I want to monitor the comments, I should probably log on here. Okay. Let me make sure we have the volume down. All right, so I know you guys can hear me, and I know you guys are seeing me because John put hi, Robert. All right, so what I want to talk to you guys about today is something that kind of blew me away when I figured it out. I was just talking to my wife about it, and she actually studied psychology in UM, and I guess she didn't pay attention in this semester because she's like, oh, I didn't know about that, right? So what I want to talk to you guys about today is something called imposter syndrome. I have some notes here, so I'm going to kind of glance down every once in a while and read out to you what exactly is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is a phenomenon also known as fraud syndrome. It's a concept describing individuals who are marked by an inability to internalize their accomplishments and a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. The term was coined in 1978 by some psychologists whose name I cannot pronounce. Despite external evidence of their competence, those exhibiting the syndrome remain convinced that they are frauds and do not deserve the success they have achieved. Proof of success is dismissed or diminished as luck, timing, or as a result of deceiving others into thinking that they are more intelligent and competent than they believe themselves to be. They did a study in the 1980s and estimated that 2 out of 5 high-achieving, successful people were found to be dealing with imposter syndrome or fraud syndrome. Gifted people often work hard in order to prevent people from discovering that they are imposters. So what happens is, I guess we don't feel worthy of the success that we are acquiring, and we start to think, well, who am I to do this? Why would people believe me? Why would people listen to this? And you start to feel that you're an imposter. And this is something that I've dealt with for many, many years as an entrepreneur. And it's something that I hadn't put much thought into. I put a lot of thought into it a couple of years ago when I kind of started to share my entrepreneurial journey with people. But I didn't really put a whole lot of much more thought into it until a couple of weeks ago. And a couple of weeks ago, I made the decision to get this new hairstyle. I made the decision to get my old fade back, right? This is the hairstyle that I had all in my 20s. It's known as a fade. It's what every good old homegrown Miami boy had in the 90s, and that was my hairstyle in the 90s. And then at some point, my wife told me, you know, you're like 30-something years old already, and you look like a punk ass with that haircut, and you look like a delinquent, and you got to move away from your old life. And so I let my hair grow out, and I had that, like, you know, hair to the side thing that you guys have been seeing me with for the last year. And getting this fade, I mean, I don't want to say it was a cathartic experience, because that's a very dramatic word, and my wife loves to use that word, by the way, which is why I threw that out there for her. But it has been it's been quite an experience understanding that. It's imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, because that's how you say it when you're gangster, according to Kevin, right? Kevin is the gangster attorney, apparently. Anyway, so look, what you're saying, this haircut, my wife associated this haircut with me being a gangster, right? If I go back and I look at my mugshots, this was the haircut I had in every mugshot. And so getting this haircut back brought back a lot of memories and a lot of feelings of insecurity, a lot of feelings of I shouldn't have done this, I want my hair back. No, the barber said, well, at your age, hopefully it'll grow back, so we'll see. But it made me realize that in our journey as adults, in our journey as entrepreneurs, we start to make little small changes here and there to kind of feel that we're fitting into the norm, to feel that we're fitting into society. And that's what I started to do. I started to think that because of my past, I had to become this different person now. And all of these little changes got me to a point where I wasn't really comfortable with who I was trying to become. I wasn't comfortable at all. And that happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. It happens to a lot of self-made people. And I recall it was probably about 2004, my attorney got me a seat on the board of directors of Easter Seals. And Easter Seals is a national organization with tens of millions of dollars that they bring in. And I'm on this board of directors now with attorneys and judges and powerful businessmen. And I felt I didn't belong there. I felt so out of place. Everybody else around me was so proud of me. But yet I felt like a fraud. I felt like I didn't belong there. I felt like an imposter there. And eventually, imposter syndrome won out, and I quit the board of directors, and I walked away from that. And I just continued to struggle with becoming an entrepreneur, with especially from the changes I've made in my life. And it was a difficult transition, and for many years I stayed in the background. I didn't want the spotlight. I didn't want anybody to know I was the owner of the business. If I went out and had to go pick up a check somewhere or something, I would tell people I was a delivery guy. Hi, I'm a driver from Capture Glory. They told me to come by here and pick up a check or to drop this off because I didn't feel worthy, I guess, of being an entrepreneur. I didn't feel worthy of having a successful business. And this came back into play a couple of years ago when I pushed myself out of my comfort zone and started to do more coaching, started to run mastermind groups, started doing this show. And it was a difficult transition to the point where for the first time in 19 years, I went out and I hired a coach because I didn't quite know how I was going to transition. I didn't quite know how I would fit in. And no matter how much people told me, you're a marketing genius, oh my God, you know so much about fucking marketing and on this and that, no matter how many clients paid me to help them with their marketing, no matter how many members I have in my mastermind groups, I still always have this feeling in the back of my mind saying, who the hell am I to give people advice? Who the hell am I to teach people how to run a business? Who the hell am I to get paid to do this for people, right? And that imposter syndrome just starts to eat away at you. And if you don't realize it's happening and you don't make the changes, then you little by little, you start doing small little things like changing your hairstyle, changing your clothing, changing the way you talk, changing the way you walk, changing everything about you because you feel you have to fit in, because you feel that you're an imposter. You don't feel that you are where you need to be. And that's been a difficult challenge for me. As entrepreneurs, we deal with a lot. We deal with stress. We deal with anxiety. I'm a little bit, not a little bit, I always say a little bit. I don't know why. I'm a whole lot ADHD. When I was a kid, I was on Ritalin. I took the brain scans. I did all that shit. And that's another thing that you start to feel. You know, I start to think, you know, I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a college degree. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And as I did more research on this, what's amazing about this is that the more success you achieve, the higher the imposter syndrome effect is. And I want to find it here in the notes because it talks about the amount of U.S. presidents that once they find themselves alone for the first time sitting in the Oval Office start to experience imposter syndrome. Maya Angelou, who wrote 12 best-selling books, would always says that on her 12th book is when everybody was going to figure out that she was a fraud. Okay, Seth Godin, who I love, I've read all of his books, and he wrote a book, and in it he wrote about the Icarius description, that he still feels like a fraud. I've heard that American presidents can feel this thing too. The first time they find themselves alone in the Oval Office, they think to themselves, I hope nobody finds out I'm in here. I hope they don't figure out that I'm a fraud. And I experience this, not myself, but I also experience it when I'm working with my clients. When I go run my clients through my Next 100 program or my WOW packages, one of the things that I do is establish for them an expert introduction and an expert title. And a lot of them struggle with implementing this. A lot of them struggle with referring to themselves as an expert in accounting or as the authority architect, or right? That's imposter syndrome. We don't feel comfortable with it. Now, as I was talking to my wife about it, what was your reaction to hearing it?
I felt that same way too.
When did you feel that? When you were doing what?
Coffee with Christy.
When you were doing your Coffee with Christy show, right? So if you watch my show, you know that my wife for a while was doing her own Coffee with Christy show and was all about motivating women entrepreneurs. And she stopped doing it because of time constraints and other issues, but she told me, she goes, you know, that's funny because when I was doing the Coffee with Christy show, I would think, who the hell am I? Why would people listen to my advice? That's the imposter syndrome. That I don't really know where it comes from, but I know that it's an important topic for entrepreneurs to talk about. I know it's probably something that a lot of entrepreneurs are experiencing and don't feel comfortable talking about it, right? I was just on a Zoom call on Saturday with a group of entrepreneurs, and out of the 6 or 7 entrepreneurs that were on there, 2 or 3 of us were 2 of them are ADD and I'm ADHD, but the 2 that were ADD don't like to talk about it, don't like to admit it, they don't like for people to know they have ADD. And I'm thinking, what's the big deal? And then we start talking about anxiety, and I'll tell you the truth. Last year, out of nowhere, I don't know what happened, I started dealing with overwhelming anxiety. Like overwhelming anxiety that I took my ass to a therapist. I thought, I'm losing my mind here, right? My wife was looking at me like, oh shit, I can't believe you're talking about this, right? But this is the stuff that we go through as entrepreneurs. This is the shit that we have to deal with. This is what makes entrepreneurs have more balls than most to get out there and do it. It's not easy to do. You know, I look at some of the people that follow the show, and you know, they're brick and mortar business owners. They've been doing it for many, many years, and they're still struggling. And part of that struggle may be that we're dealing with our own imposter syndrome. We're dealing with our own insecurities. We're dealing with our own inadequacies. And nobody wants to talk about that, which is the reason why I decided to come and go live today and talk about it, because I'm going through this. And people that watch this show send me messages and say, hey man, thanks for the show. It's really taught me a lot. It's really motivated me. It's really kept me going. But it's not all about marketing. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, man. There's a lot of shit to deal with as entrepreneurs. And anxiety and stress is a big one. And imposter syndrome is a big one. Let me see what Kevin says here. Yeah. The fake it till you make it. I don't know if there's a direct connection between imposter syndrome and that fake it till you make it type of mentality where, you know, you gotta have to create the facade in order to attract, but does creating that facade also then create the imposter syndrome? It's important concept because it allows you to grow. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I absolutely. And I used to do that at the beginning when we first started our business, and someone would call and say, "Hi, I'm calling to make a payment." We'd say, "Okay, hello, let me transfer you to our accounting department." We created the facade that we were a bigger company than not. And now we're actually doing the opposite. Now we don't create that facade anymore because we want to create that connection with people. We want that authentic, genuine relationship with them. So we don't really do that anymore. But I tell people all the time, you got to do it. And when you're doing it, you can't let this imposter syndrome hold you back. Look, I'm going to show you a couple of things that I came across that are the ways that we manifest this. And I know exactly which one of these I fall into. I probably should have put these pages in some sort of order. So there's a... Yeah, I should have put them in order. So the one that I fall into is the perfectionist, the expert perfectionist. So what we tend to do is people will fall into this competence type, may feel like they somehow tricked themselves. They deeply fear being exposed as inexperienced or unknowledgeable. Do you shy away from... Are you consistently seeking out training certifications because you think you need to improve your skills in order to succeed? Right? So a lot of people do this. We buy a lot of courses, we read a lot of books, we go to a lot of seminars, and then we don't implement any of it because we're scared. We're scared that it's not going to work. We're scared that we're not going to apply it correctly. But as long as we keep ourselves busy, as long as we keep learning and reading and doing videos and taking notes, we feel that we are productive and we are accomplishing it, right? I tend to get into that. You know, a lot of us entrepreneurs tend to get into analysis paralysis. So a couple of years ago, it was probably 2015, I stopped buying courses. I stopped downloading videos. I stopped going to conferences and seminars. And I said to myself, you know a fucking lot. And now it's time to start teaching it, time to start applying it. Stop learning. You know, now that I've gotten past that hump, that I've gotten out of my own way mentally, I'm back to reading the books and buying the courses and jumping in. But we tend to use that as a security blanket. And, you know, you might, this is some of the things, here they are. Perfectionism, overworking. We tend to compensate by overworking because we feel that if people look at us and they see how hard we work, they'll never figure out that we're a fraud. Undermining your own achievements. I do that all the time. People tell me all the time, man, that was great, or I love that sales letter you wrote, or I love this, I love that. And I look at it and I'm like, I think it sucks. I don't think it's that good, or I don't. And even when people give me compliments, I shy away from them. I downplay myself. You know, if I have a guest on here and the guest will pick up a copy of my book and say, oh, I read your book, I'll downplay myself and I'll say, oh, I'm happy to hear somebody read the book, right? Those are little things that we're doing that are showing us that we're dealing with the imposter syndrome, that are showing us that we are not feeling confident in ourselves. Fear of failure and discounting praise. I just spoke about discounting praise and not doing well with compliments. Fear of failure. Fear of failure is a very interesting one. A lot of times I don't look at it as fear of failure. I look at it as fear of success. Right? I don't want to fail, and I'm afraid of failing. But sometimes I wonder if the fear of success sabotages us more. And I know for myself, it took me quite a while to understand that. I've talked about this on the show before, where I did this session with Sarah, a money mindset coach, and she helped me really realize what was holding me back from achieving my own success. And it had a lot to do with the way that I look at how you earn money and how successful people are paid for their services. And that really was a breakthrough for me. So, you know, that's probably the whole point of this live video. The whole point of this episode is a lot of little things happen to us through our entrepreneurial journey. A lot of little things happen and we start to tweak them and change them, and we may get so far away from what the dream of an entrepreneur was or from what the dream of our business was going to be. I know so many people who have successful businesses and are miserable. They have multiple $1 million companies and they are miserable. And that's not somewhere I want to be. I stopped chasing money probably 2009. I woke up one morning to a letter on the kitchen from my wife that was about 5 pages long. And she was basically telling me that she wanted a husband that was going to be a husband and be a father and be there, and not just some guy who's constantly working and chasing after money. And her words were, I want someone who's a caregiver, not a provider. And I always looked at myself as the provider. I looked at it as I'm doing all of this work and I want to make all of this money for my family, yet I was doing it at the sacrifice of my family. So I no longer chase the money, and if you stop chasing the money, I guarantee you, you will be a lot happier, and things will happen to you in a way that you did not expect, because your focus is not only on the money. So just wanted to share that with you all. That's my topic for the day, because as you go through your marketing, as you go through growing your business, you're going to experience these things. You're going to experience these feelings of inadequacy. You're going to experience these feelings of, I don't deserve this, I just got lucky, it's not going to last, it's all going to blow up. I mean, part of what caused my anxiety in last year was that our business was doing very well, and in my mind, it was all going to implode. In my mind, it was all going to go to shit, because that's what happened to me when the economy tanked. My business was growing double digits every year, to the point where attorneys wanted to invest in my business because of the growth we were having. And then in 2009, when the economy tanked, it all fell apart and I lost everything, had to rebuild it all over again. And now that I'm kind of getting back into a good place, I have this kind of post-traumatic stress disorder where I think it's just all going to blow up on me and I'm going to mess it all up again and it's all going to go to shit. And that's where that anxiety came from. That fear of failing is what drove that overwhelming anxiety, to the point where my Cuban macho ass took myself to a therapist to find out what the hell is happening. I can't function this way. So I wanted to come out here and put it all out there and let you all know there's no shame in it. If you're dealing with stress, dealing with anxiety, dealing with imposter syndrome, dealing with low self-confidence in your business, it's okay. We're all going through that. It's part of growing. It's part of changing. It's part of becoming. It's part of achieving more. Right? That's why they say nobody likes change, right? Change is not easy. And success is easy to acquire. It really is. It's difficult to maintain. And in maintaining the success is where you're going to deal with the anxiety and the stress and the imposter syndrome. I hope this episode resonates. I hope this episode makes you think about where you're at and realize that there's no shame in it. Don't let it overwhelm you. Don't let it cripple you. I did it. I did it for many, many years. I let my past, I let my shame, I let my regret, I let all of that overwhelm me and hold me back. And it wasn't until 2015 that I said, I'm done and I'm breaking free of all this bullshit that I've been carrying with me, that it really started to make a huge difference, not just in my business, but in myself. All right. So I hope you guys get some real value out of this and really think to yourselves what's going on and what you can do so that we go into 2018 with a clear mind, clear focus, and we kick some ass. And if you're a kick-ass marketer, you're a kick-ass business owner, you want to hop into my kick-ass marketing for brick and mortar business owners Facebook group, just go ahead and look it up there and join the group. We're going to sign off. I'll see you next Monday for episode 59 of Rob Help My Marketing Sucks. I'm signing off.